Welcome to the J&J podcast.
My my
Go,
name
John.
is
You always go first, John.
okay. My name is John.
And I'm Joe.
Welcome everybody to the 30th episode of the J&J podcast. We have a special guest on today. Joe, how about you introduce him?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Vassalo Sr., my dad.
Mr. Vassallo, welcome to the show.
How you doing, boys?
We're doing good. How are you?
Good.
Good. We're glad to hear it. Hope everybody had a great weekend. So we're in for a great episode. Now, Joe, why don't you tell us why you wanted to have your father on the show today?
Well, with all the stuff that's been going on with police officers lately and all the things that have just been going on in the media, my father's a police officer, and I just wanted to have somebody from like a police officer's perspective share, because I feel like we don't hear that enough in the media and in the world.
I absolutely agree. I feel like a lot of things are consistently one-sided. Those videos come out, and you never know what kind of happens beforehand. So I think, so Mr. Vassallo, with your experience, what kind of light can you shed on all the epidemics going on currently in the world?
Well, it's a shame. It's a terrible shame that anybody has to die. All right. When a police officer goes to work, they do not want to kill anybody. They don't wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to punch you in the clock and kill somebody. That's just ignorance and just ridiculousness. All right. We go to work to go home. We do a job. Okay. We don't go looking for people to kill. And that's the biggest point I would like to make. You know, it's not a race thing. You know, it's not black and white. It's not, even the police against Black Lives Matter or anything like that. It is, we are there to do a job, okay? Just like if somebody goes to McDonald's and does their job, there's no issues, okay? We don't look for trouble. We just have to enforce the law. That's the only difference.
I absolutely agree. I think it's really unfortunate with everything that's going on right now, and I don't know if maybe just with the power of social media and with video cameras and whatnot, I don't know if this is just the way it's kind of been, and maybe we're just hearing about it, or maybe it's just getting worse over time. But either way though, it's so tragic. And it's, I kind of feel like people are looking at cops, regardless of state, just cops are kind of all together. And so, like, it's very terrible, like, when a shooting happens somewhere, and then a cop gets murdered somewhere else. Like, I mean, not saying cops should not get murdered at all, but it's, you're kind of looking at that, like, like these people, they didn't do anything, and it's completely tragic, and it's... I can't believe it. And it's just, as of this morning, as of the morning of this taping, 3 more police officers were shot and killed, and there were a few other injured. And it's just... in
Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where everything's in turmoil already,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a complete tragedy, and I don't know what this world is coming to. Now, Mr. Vassallo, do you think that this is the way things have been, or do you think with just social media we're kind of hearing about it now?
I think with social media, it's more out there. Okay, listen, there are always going to be bad cops, just like there are bad people. Okay, that doesn't mean every single cop is bad. That doesn't mean that every single cop is gung ho either. Okay, listen. When I first got on the job, I was very gung-ho. I was making arrests, writing summonses and everything. Over time, like everybody else, I have kind of pushed, not pushed the law enforcement aside, but been a little more lax in law enforcement, okay? But that doesn't mean if I see a crime, I'm not going to respond.
Absolutely.
Okay? I got 15 years on the job. Okay, I just want to make it to my my retirement. That's all anybody wants to do.
Absolutely. Now, how close are you to retirement?
Oh, 8.5 years. 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Now, do you...
You go, Joe.
Okay, so are police officers now being encouraged to be extra cautious in light of everything that's happened?
Absolutely, absolutely. We are being told to be very vigilant. Okay, wear all our equipment, our protective gear. Um, be aware of your surroundings. But that's just for everybody, and not only at work, but also out of work. Okay, don't wear anything with symbols or logos that put you as a police officer or a peace officer. Okay, that makes you a target, and anybody who does that is very silly at this time. This stage of the game.
It's completely true. It's really unfortunate that oh god, I was just about to say something. It's
Com-
it's
Complacency kills, basically.
right.
Mhm.
You know,
Okay, if you do the same thing every single day, eventually it's gonna get you.
Absolutely. And now, of course, with any kind of group of people, whether it be law enforcement or, like you said before, the employees at McDonald's, you're always going to have, one or two bad seeds, without a doubt. But there's no
Right,
reason why innocent people have to die.
right.
It's really just a tragic situation, and I'm really happy you came on here. Maybe you can shed some light. I'm really hoping maybe somebody, who's listening to this, can hear maybe your input and things we talk about, and maybe it could save a life. Even if it saves one life, that it's all worth it.
Listen, you could ask me any question you want, especially about training or anything. You could ask me anything you want. I will answer it honestly.
Oh, absolutely. You go, Joe.
So, just in light of like everything that's happened, is there anybody above the police force who's able to help you, like any agency that's able to help out the police force, especially in places like what happened in Dallas or even in Louisiana this morning? Or is like the police force like that they're the last line of defense?
Every police force, okay, every police force, whether it's peace officers and police officers, and there's two different things. Those are two different things, police and peace officers. But they're the same. They're two different names, but the same thing. All right. The only difference between a police officer and a peace officer is a police officer can make an arrest on reasonable suspicion. Okay. That means if I think there's something wrong, I can make an arrest as a police officer. And police officer also serve warrants. Okay. Now, a peace officer can't serve warrants, and they need reasonable. They need to know, not reasonable cause, but not reasonable cause. Knowledge of the incident happening. That's the difference.
Uh,
You understand?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Vassallo, you said before you've been on the job for 15 years.
Yeah.
How would you say things have changed since maybe like your first month of being a police officer from now?
John, my first month.
Okay,
I can remember my first hour today.
I think what John's trying to say is like, what are some of the changes that have happened since you first started to now?
Well, don't forget when I came on, it was right after 9/11. Everybody was very pro police. Remember that? Everybody was
Yes.
thanking us, and
Everyone came together.
yeah. And don't forget, I worked in Lower Manhattan, right by Ground Zero. So, everything was, police, police, police. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They used to, help us out, give us free, food when we were working double shifts. And Joe, you remember how I was never home all the time, since when I started.
Crazy.
Okay. Now it's totally different. You're vilified. You're the criminal as a police officer, and it's a terrible thing. Like I said, we're not here to kill people. We're here to protect people. Okay. When we do training every year. We go for a refresher. Okay. Mm-hmm. We go for 2 weeks, and this is not just our agency. It's every single police agency. Sanitation police, courts, NYPD, okay? We go and we do a refresher. We do classes for 2 straight weeks, okay? We are taught gun safety. We are taught deadly physical force, okay? We are taught the different levels of force, okay? there are there are different levels of force. You want to know them?
Sure.
And it's not. These aren't secrets. This isn't like, you know,
Sure.
a secret book that's with a lock and key that nobody can see.
And I'm just saying, off the air, if there's anything you want us to cut out, we can easily do that.
Listen. If I didn't want to say it, I wouldn't say it.
Okay.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. There's 5 levels of force. 5, I believe. Ready?
Yep.
First one is presence. Okay. You show up. That's a force. Believe it or not, that's a force. Your presence is a force that's showing them that you're there to control the situation. Okay? The next thing is verbal force. You know what verbal force is? Stop, don't move, I'm here. Everybody step back. Okay? That's the second one. Your third one is physical force. Now, physical force is not a punch to the face, even though it is a punch to the face, but it could be, I put my hand on your arm to move you away. That's a physical force. Mm-hmm. I physically touch you. The next one is chemical. Chemical is my pepper spray.
Right.
Okay? Which every cop is trained on using every year. Okay? Yeah. The next one is impact weapon, which is my monadnock. Okay? Yeah. The monadnock. They show you where your red zones, they call it a red zone. Red zone is where you can kill somebody, your head, your heart, your back, your spine. Okay? They teach us that every single year. And we have to take tests in this. It's not like we could just go in there, remember it, and go away. We have to take a test every year. It's state mandated. And then the last one is deadly physical force. Mm-hmm. My gun. The monadnock in a red area. Mm-hmm. That's the stuff we're taught every year. Okay? We are taught gun safety every year. Every year. Mm-hmm. We're taught, keep your finger off the trigger. Do not point your gun at anything you do not want to kill. Be aware of your surroundings. Okay? Be aware of what's behind your target. Okay? We're taught that. It's ingrained in our head. John, yep. There's no books in front of me.
Absolutely no.
It's in my head. We're pushed on this, okay? Mm-hmm. We're pushed on everything in the penal law, the CPL, Article 35. You can look it up in Google it, Article 35, New York Penal Law. Yep. All right? We're taught everything, and we're reinforced every time. All right? So, like I said, it's not just my agency, it's every law enforcement agency.
And so we can like assure anybody who's listening that like cops are getting the right training, they are getting gun safety, that what we're seeing is not a problem with the education of the officers or anything like that.
Now, other states might be different, but the same premise is being taught though.
Right.
You understand?
Yes.
It may be different in Idaho, but all the groundwork is still the same.
Right. Now, you said you take a refresher course every year.
Every year, 2 weeks every year.
Now, since the recent shootings, like maybe like starting with like Trayvon Martin, have the refresher course been changed in any way?
Nope.
Or is it the same? Okay, so it's the same.
It's the same thing every year.
Okay. Okay. All right. Fair enough. So since everything that's been going on,
But don't forget, Trayvon Martin wasn't a police shooting.
Oh yes, that's true. Yes,
right. Trayvon wasn't a police shooting. Trayvon was a civilian shooting another civilian.
Yes, that's absolutely true. My bad. I was kind of thinking that's kind of where the whole Black Lives Matter started. You know that.
Right. And that's part of the problem is the fact that people were looking at the Trayvon Martin case and cases like it and saying, well, this was a police officer when it wasn't a police officer, where that spawned this kind of hate for police officers that we have now.
Right.
You know, and once again, that is a reckless person. That's another thing we're taught, okay? You have to be 3 things. You ready?
Yep.
Reckless, justified. Oh boy, hold on.
we can cut this out. We cut this out.
Wow, I forgot. Reckless justified.
I'll Google it.
Yeah, cut this out. I forgot. Wait, reckless justified.
Reckless.
Oh man,
Don't worry.
I'll think about it. I'll think of it.
Don't worry.
But
I'll cut this out.
all right, you ready?
Yep.
But you have to be justified, and you can't be reckless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can't just take your gun, point it at, say you even pointed at an armed robber, and pull the trigger, and an innocent woman gets killed behind that person.
Right.
That is reckless. Okay, recklessness is not an indemnity of the law. You can't do it. You just can't. You have to be aware of your surroundings all the time. All right? You have to go to court and say, I felt my life was in danger, or I felt somebody else's life was in danger.
Yes.
You have to explain it. And it can't be just that, too. It has to be details. I've been to court many of a time, and the prosecutor was even impressed with how I spoke.
That's great.
Now,
You can go, Joe.
I was just going to say, so right now in the current climate that we're living in, as a police officer, what's your biggest worry when you go to work in the morning? Like, is what's going on the biggest thing that you have to worry about, or are there other things that the general public may not be aware about that police officers have to worry about?
Luckily, I'm inside. I'm a pencil pusher right now, so I don't have to worry about what are you walking around for. You get me dizzy. I don't have to, I don't have to go outside anymore. I'm very lucky like that. My seniority has gotten me a good spot. I worry about my other officers, the other officers that work with me. I have been to way too many funerals to describe how it feels. I went to the two officers that got shot in Brooklyn. Their funeral. There were almost 100,000 people, just a sea of body, and you could hear, and there's no exaggeration, a pin drop. It's the eeriest feeling. It is the saddest thing to see a coffin draped, driving past you. It is not a good feeling. All right. I never met those two officers, and I feel for them every time.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't. With all this going on, I kind of feel like this kind of ties into gun control. What's your thoughts on the current situation with gun control, and how do you think how we should fix it?
Well, really, the problem isn't registered gun owners. That's not the problem. The registered gun owners are not the problem. It is the stolen guns that are in the city streets and in gang members' hands, and that's where the problem is. Like I said, we go for training. We are taught gun safety. Okay, we are taught nomenclature of the gun. A nomenclature is every aspect of the gun, like every nut, bolt, spring, everything. We know how to take apart a gun. We know how to put it back together. We know the parts and the names of the parts. Okay? The problem is the recklessness, and that's where it comes in again, the recklessness of illegal guns. All right?
Right.
I'm sure that if you ask somebody, have you ever on the gun, what was the first thing you did? I'm sure that they put their finger on the trigger. Well, that's how you get accidental killings.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, I meant with obtaining a gun legally, like what happened in Orlando with the at the nightclub shooting.
I personally think that there need to be stricter laws, even for legal gun owners. But like I said, that was one that got through the system,
Right.
and not only him, but the one in California also. I believe they obtained theirs legally. I believe they did too.
Yeah.
There's a flaw in the system. There's a flaw in the system.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
I personally
the system. Oh, God.
No, it's okay. You can go. You go. You're the guest.
No. and the system needs to be changed. All right, and the problem is that politicians, they don't get it,
Right.
because their pockets are lined by the NRA and the gun companies, but not just the NRA and the gun companies. It's every single company, everything they have is just being lined with dirty money.
Right. I definitely think the laws need to be updated all around. I mean, I think it's crazy that somebody on a terrorist watch list that the FBI has spoken to twice, because they believe they had connections to ISIS,
Right.
was able to obtain a gun and a bunch of rounds of ammunition,
Right.
100% legal. I mean, that blows my mind, and I just everyone keeps saying like, oh, something needs to get done, something needs to get done, and it's kind of crazy because I kind of feel like nobody has an answer, and I know I certainly don't.
Right.
I don't have the
Listen,
I don't have the brain sense.
I believe that I need my firearm for work,
Yes.
but one's enough for me.
Right.
Unless there's a zombie apocalypse walking the streets, I think one's enough for me.
Absolutely.
Now,
There you go.
can you go, John?
I just absolutely.
Now, do you think that that if the gun laws were reformed and there was stricter gun control, that criminals would be able to obtain guns illegally anyway? Like, what do you think that it would stop the
Guns will get obtained illegally no matter what. Don't forget, it's not like they're going to the show and buying a gun from a dealer, okay?
Right.
That is one way they get it illegally, but the other way is that house is broken into, guns are missing, okay? A lot of guns that are on the street illegally are from burglaries,
Yeah.
and they just get circulated into the street.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that with any law, with any kind of law, they're gonna find out ways to get around the system. They're gonna, I just feel like there are precautions we can take to lower it down. I mean, there will always be way to get guns illegally. Like, they just when a criminal wants to do something, when you have a criminal mindset, you're able to do it. There will always be ways. There's no way to stop it 100%, but there are definitely steps we can take to lower that number down. And I think it's just kind of crazy that if you look inside other countries, this doesn't happen nearly as often as it does in the United States. I kind of feel like it's happening every other day now. It blows my mind, and I don't know what to do, and it breaks my heart that innocent people are dying.
I can't give you an answer to that. I wish I had an answer.
Right. It's
it's just unfortunately that's the way the world is right now. But like I said, there is no cop that wants to go to work, and no cop even wants to go in and make an arrest. But we do it. It's not like we go, oh, I don't want to do it. No, we still do our job, but it's just nobody wants to do that. We want to do our 8 hours and go home. That's it.
Now, Mr. Vassallo, for someone that's listening to this and say they get pulled over for any kind of reason, what steps do you think a person should take to feel like they could be with a cop? Everything will go as smoothly as possible when getting pulled over or dealing with cops.
Excellent question.
Thank you.
That is an excellent question.
I don't know if I worded it properly.
No. This was an excellent question. Okay. I am a police officer.
Yes.
Okay. I have my firearm. Okay.
Yes.
And I will tell you step by step what I do. You ready?
Yes.
I see the lights. I pull right over. If it's nighttime, I turn the interior lights of the car on.
Okay.
Okay. And I roll down all the windows.
Okay.
Okay? Before the police officer comes to the car, I have my wallet out. I take my wallet out. I open my wallet, and I have my hands on the steering wheel with my wallet showing.
Okay. Fair enough.
He walks up to the window, and before he even says anything, I tell him, I have my firearm on my right side. So he knows that he sees my hands, he sees my wallet, and he knows I have a firearm.
Yes.
Okay? And he can see inside the car. There's nothing obstructing it. The windows aren't tinted.
Yeah.
All right? So the windows are rolled down. The lights are on. My hands are on the wheel. and you comply. It's simple, and you comply. All right? You will make this officer's day, and he might even give you a break.
Yeah.
All right? You be apologetic. I'm sorry. You know, listen. I get pulled over. I get out 100% of the time. It's a perk. I don't want anybody to get in trouble, but it's a perk. but I still have the opportunity to get shot.
Right.
Okay, just like everybody else. Okay, so if the officer's on my right and I'm talking to the officer on my left, which they call the contact officer because he's making all the contact with the driver, and the cover officer sees my gun, guess what? I'm going to get shot.
Right.
Even if I go for my wallet. I'm not going for my gun, but my gun is showing.
Right.
Okay? It happens, John. But you know what? If my hands are on the wheel, my wallet visible, I have my license already out, or if you don't have, a shield, like you're a registered gun owner, you have your ID out before the officer gets there with the registration and the insurance card out and your permit out, and everything's on your steering wheel. All right?
Yep.
You do not give the opportunity to the person to shoot you, the officer to shoot you. Because you know what? The officer is right. Because he sees a firearm. If I didn't say anything, he's right. My fault.
Right.
It's my fault.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I didn't give him safety.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
All right? So, this is all we're saying. License, registration, insurance. If you're carrying a firearm, your permit. Roll down your windows, open your lights. Now, put it on the steering wheel. As soon as he walks in, he doesn't have to search for anything. He can see the entire car. All right?
Yep.
He can see the entire car. All the windows are down. The lights are on. Nothing hiding.
Yep.
There's no dead body, no nothing. And you be courteous. You don't go, why did you pull me over? Listen.
Most
The
times
more you aggravate us, the more we aggravate you.
Right.
And it's important to remember, and this is for the listeners, that police officers are humans too. You know, like you guys are just as human as anybody else.
Absolutely. I mean, most people, they have families to come home to, and everyone, they just have a job. We're all working for society, and I think that's something that needs to be remembered. That these people have families too that they just want to get back to.
Listen, it's not the average Joe killing cops.
No, absolutely not.
It's a criminal.
Absolutely.
Doing criminal activities.
It's sad.
In your opinion, how can we cut down on, especially in the last couple of weeks, cut down on the amount of police officers that are being killed? Like, do you think that there's anything that can be done that can stop what is really a tragic epidemic that's beginning to happen?
It is ignorance on both sides. Okay? It's ignorance on both sides. All right? If you're killing a police officer, you're not listening. You're not listening to what's going on. And if you're a police officer just randomly killing people, then you're not listening to what's going on. And there's no amount of training. No amount of training can fix that. Okay? The Dallas shooter was a trained military officer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
He had training on gun safety, on control, on tactics. Okay? He knew what he was doing. He pointed his gun at a life and took it. I don't care what. You have to be cold and calculated to do that. All right?
Absolutely.
Now, the three guys in Baton Rouge, cold and calculated. You had enough sense to buy a weapon and take a life. Think about it. You took a life. It's not easy. It's not easy. And if it is easy, then there's definitely something wrong with
I'm
you.
with you. Yeah.
Mhm. Now, have police officers in recent weeks, considering everything that's going on, or have they been getting increasingly worried? Like, has it been tense in
Of
the
course. Of course. Especially that people are still protesting. So there's a danger within the crowd.
Mhm.
Right.
Now, are there protests going on in New York City?
Yes, there is protests in New York City.
But luckily, you're not assigned to work. That you're working at a desk job, and thank God. But we do hope that your brothers and sisters within the NYPD would be able to,
Right.
will come
Yeah.
home safe and sound.
But like I said, it's not just we don't just worry about our agency, which is Tri-Borough Bridge and Tunnel Authority. We worry about NYPD. We worry about Port Authority. We worry about courts.
Yeah.
You know,
Now,
it's a brotherhood, basically. You know.
yeah.
Absolutely. Mr. Vassallo, the other day in the Staten Island events, if you don't want to talk about this, it's totally cool. There was a leaked audio from Gawker, from a Staten Island cop, where his boss was criticized for not issuing enough tickets or performing stop and frisks enough on minorities in the transit center. In the transit center. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, listen. Like I said, that's NYPD. Their policy. They have different policies than us. I think it's disgusting, but if a boss tells you to do it, then you do have a chain of command.
Fair enough.
It's just like any other job. There is a chain of command. If somebody superior tells you to do that, then you have to keep going up. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, when I heard about this, honestly, I thought the idea of quotas was kind of like an excuse people would use. Oh, I just got a ticket, the cop had to fill his quota. Like, I kind of thought, and once again, I'm only 21
Right.
actually, but I thought that was kind of like just an excuse people would use. I didn't actually realize that was a thing.
I'll be honest with you. TBTA does not have a quota. There is no
Okay.
quota on our job.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, I was just very interested when I saw that article that
Right.
just came out the other day.
Right.
And my father used to be an auxiliary a long time ago. Then he
Right.
met my mother, and he was saying that he never even heard a quota on stop and frisks either, because stop and frisk can be very dangerous.
Right. Well, there is a procedure for stop and frisk, though. Stop and frisk is, if you stop somebody, you have to actually fill out a stop and frisk form. It's not just, a stop and frisk, okay, now get out of here. There is an actual form that gets put into a database. You have to fill out a form like this big, this wide, and it's got to go in. There's a lot of
right.
forms. There's a lot of forms you guys don't know about.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very well. I mean, neither Joe and I have been arrested, so thankfully
I hope
would.
not.
That's what my parents keep saying, because as you guys know, I'm going up to Rochester next week, and they're
Yes.
like, "Please don't get arrested because we don't want to drive up 5 hours, to bail you out of jail."
See, I would just leave you there.
Oh man, but Joseph, did you have any other questions for your father?
Yeah. So I know you said that
No,
you.
I will not give you money. No, sorry.
I wasn't asking.
That was the question. I'm sorry.
No, I know you said that you're no longer out as a police officer on the streets, and you're now inside. But when you were out, and just to give it like a little bit of perspective to the listeners, and to even me and John, because I guess neither of us would know, what did like big protests or big gatherings do in terms of like the amount of stress it puts on officers, seeing as like the danger increases when there's a big crowd?
Well, luckily, we never had a protest come onto our area. We were very lucky.
Okay.
It came close, but they never came over and stopped traffic at the tunnel. I'm a bridge and tunnel officer. We never had any issues with that. But there was a time where we had to be prepared. You know, we had the plastic cuffs and we were ready. We had riot helmets and we were ready. We were ready.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we didn't need to do it. And, you know, and I'm grateful for that because, you know what? Like I said, I just want to do my 8 hours and go home. I want to go home and see my family. I love my kids. I love you. I love John, even though, you know, he's not my kid. But I want to come home and see my family. And that's the bottom line. And that's anybody wants to do that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now, Mr. Vassallo, if there's one message you want to get across to our listeners, what would you say that listener that message or that lesson be?
Listen, I mean, we're humans. We're human beings, and every human being makes a mistake. But also, we're also human beings doing a job, and we're doing a job to protect you. Okay, we're not here to hurt anybody. Okay, we are trained to help you. We're trained in first aid. We're trained in CPR. We're trained in traffic management. If somebody needs aid, we are trained in that stuff. All right. Please don't go look at any police officer as an enemy. We're not enemies. We're not. All right. We're your friends, you know, but we have to uphold the law, just like any officer. All right.
Absolutely, you're just a guy doing his job, and so is, you know, we'll say, you know, every other police officer. You know, that's you know, you're doing your job. You know, it may not be the most, you know, pleasant job. You know, it's understandable people get upset, but there's no reason why it needs to get to this point. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes, you know, just things happen, and it's all in the heat of the moment, and it's upsetting and it's sad and it's, you know, it's just a heartbreaking situation.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And like I said, I went to way too many funerals, and it kills me every single time. It kills me every single time. It really destroys me.
Yeah.
Because that, you know what? I always think that could be me. You know, and I always, you know, I always think about Joe and Shannon and Aaron and Kelly and everybody. I just, you know, it hurts. It hurts because now kids don't have a parent, wife doesn't have a husband, husband doesn't have a wife. You know, fathers don't have their kids. You know, it's just terrible. It's you know, you're not just robbing a store, now you're taking a life, and I don't understand how you think it's so easy to take a life. I really don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And so something that I was been meaning to ask, and if you don't know the answer to this question, then that's fine. We'll cut it out.
I'm
but
your father. I know all answers. Please, thank you.
I know that there are certain licenses and permits and things like that you need to have a large gathering in a like on a street or in a city. Do you know? Do the Black Lives Matters protests going on? Do they have those permits and licenses, or is it literally
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not. Because a permit you need 30 days to get a permit.
Okay.
You know, you have to go through City Hall to get a permit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to probably say no.
Right, and it's definitely not as easy.
And there's rules that you have to follow for the permit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just like, oh, okay, here's a permit, go run amok. You can't run amok.
Right. And so I would assume that all these protests all over the country are causing a lot of stress for the officers, and just in that aspect that these are like instantaneous protests.
Well, listen. Now everybody's on edge after Dallas. Don't forget that was a protest. Okay, there was a protest happening, and then there was a murder, multiple murders. Okay,
by a trained sniper.
I don't know if he was a sniper, but definitely a trained military person.
Right. I just meant he used a sniper. My bad.
Well, he had an AR-15, which is the assault rifle.
Oh, okay. I see.
He didn't have a sniper rifle. He had an AR-15.
I am not a gun person. I do not know my guns.
Yeah.
That's probably a good thing. But Joe, did you have any more questions?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Vassallo, at the end of every episode, we give one recommendation to our fans. You know, like either a book, a television show, a movie, a food, anything. For our fans to go out and try or listen to or watch. What would your recommendation be? You know, anything in particular that you like?
The Martian, the book, excellent.
Martian.
Highly recommend it.
Is that based off the movie or?
Well, it was the movie was based off the book.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Little different, but very good.
Okay, fair enough. Joe, what about you?
I have to go with the dish that I had this week, and it was really good. It's called cheeseburger pie, but
Really, Joe?
instead of wait, hear me out for a moment. Instead of like cheddar cheese on it, it had mozzarella, fresh mozzarella melted over it, and it was just spectacular.
A cheeseburger. What is it though? It's a pizza and then you have like pieces of like cheeseburger on top? Like what is it?
No, so it's like think pie crust, only not sweet. And then you have cheeseburger or like burger in the middle with whatever kind of cheese you have, and then the like breadcrumbs on top.
Where do you find this stuff?
I'm so disappointed in you.
Oh my god. I am gonna recommend the Best Damn Cherry Cola, which is a like alcoholic cherry cola that I'm hooked on now. It's really good.
Did you do the root beer? Not your father's root beer?
I haven't. No, but I haven't. I guess that's next.
Yeah, that might be next.
There we go. We got to try that out. Mr. Vassallo, what were you saying, Joe?
I was just going to say, and then at the end of every episode, when we have the guest, we usually let the guest name the episode.
That's correct. So the episode, what would you like for it to be called? Anything you want.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Anything you want.
Blue Lives Matter too. How's that?
Blue Lives Matter too. You got it. Mr. Vassallo, thank you so much for coming on the show and taking time out of your day to be with us and to spread this message. I really think it's going to do a lot of good.
Boys, my pleasure.
Thank you enough. Thank you so much, Mr. Vassallo. Unless there's anything else you wanted to say, it looks like we're out.
I just wanted to say I love you, old man.
Oh my God, in public too? Oh my goodness. I love you too, kiddo.
There you go.
I love you too, Johnny.
I love you too, Mr. Vassallo. But thank you so much, everybody. Guys, J&J Podcast, now over 1,300 downloads. Peace out, Cub Scout.
Peace out, Cub Scout.